to the most disliked YouTube videos. Let's get into it.
So I think for our group, the most successful part of this project was the research that we undertook. Because I think we researched really well and we had a strong foundation for what we were trying to achieve. So, we had lots of different sources, academic, we had public sources, we had all sorts of different sources that came together to kind of aid what we were trying to say in our audio project. However, the most problematic part was then taking that research and putting it into one cohesive kind of story format, if you like, in the audio project. So we had so many ideas, so many different recordings, and then to kind of make that all come together in one cohesive audio project was probably the most problematic part of the project. One of the key things talked about in the readings, the lectures, and the class discussions was the idea of the research task and how there can be different types of research tasks that are still fundamentally research. You've got your big R research, which is the academic stuff, and then the small R research, and kind of how you can weave between the two to kind of create something interesting was something that I really found interesting throughout this module of media, and then to kind of put that into YouTube where small R research can kind of take control over the big R research in that kind of setting to kind of provide in-depth analysis of a particular topic. By far the single most important affordance of audio-based media is to keep the audience engaged. And the way you do that is by not just having conversations. So we as a group tried to spice up our audio recording by using different clips, different sound effects, different modulations, different reverbs, all to try and kind of keep the audience engaged, because there's nothing for them to see. So it's important that they kind of are focusing on what's there to listen to rather than just kind of zoning out. So having different types of audio, different types of fades in, fades out, all sorts of sound effects to kind of create that solid base of where the information is going to come from will then keep them engaged enough to listen to what you're actually saying. So it's important for audio to be engaging throughout the process. By far, the most vital thing we learned as a group was that communication is key. So always be on top of when you guys are going to meet, how you're going to meet, what time, where, when, all that kind of thing is important. And then communicate, I've done this, guys, I'm going to do this now, make sure you guys do this, so that you all know what's going on. Whether it's by a Google Doc, by a text chat, whatever, just make sure that everyone's kind of on the same page with what they're going to do, what they need to do by the time you next meet or by the time, it's due. So I think we as a group kind of did that really well. We were able to kind of communicate clearly and effectively so everyone knew what they had to do for this project, and that was a really clear sign that we as a group kind of functioned well together for this project, I think. And as a media developer, if I can take the experience that I've had in this and kind of apply it to future projects, then that'll hold me in really good stead to kind of be a good collaborator for projects in the future. One of the biggest bits of feedback we got from our peers after the rough cut showing was that the conversation wasn't very natural. It was clear that we were reading from a script. And so essentially we just re-recorded the whole thing. So we basically just started the actual dialogue from scratch to re-record it to make it sound more naturalistic and more like an interview rather than just kind of a script. And so that was a big piece of feedback that we took, implemented, and then made our final cut to be much more naturalistic, more an interview-like, rather than kind of just people reading off a script. But essentially we started again, but we still had all of the foundations, so we didn't have too much to do. But to take that feedback on board, we really wanted to make sure that it didn't come off as kind of as unnatural, as I've said.